This Perfect Games review is actually for 2 games. Only Refunct has the Perfect Games badge on Steam, but I don't see myself getting there with Swarmlake. But I wanted to include it in this video anyway, because I think it contrasts and complements Refunct absolutely perfectly. Both games are fairly short and simple, but they're both beautifully made. They've had a more profound impact on me than I would have expected. I'll warn you at the start of this video that I may be mostly projecting my own feelings and that those were strongly influenced by the mental space that I was in when I first played the games. I've no idea if the developer intended it, but I connected both games strongly to anxiety and to sort of life's general stresses. And both games gave me some respite during a tumultuous time in my mental health. As both games in this video are fairly short, if you want to have a blind experience of them, I'd say stop watching now. There's not really any particular story to spoil, but in a few minutes there won't be much that you haven't seen. Starting with Refunct, this was a perfect game to me within the first 5 minutes, because it completely detached itself, and me, from anything else. From nauseating anxiety to absolutely inner peace. For me, at the cost of less than a cup of coffee, this game was absolutely the most effective and best value meditation app. So, you click new game, and unless you decide to pause, that's the last time you and the game will actually communicate. There are no controls on screen, there are no tutorials or goals. The movement keys are fairly standard for anyone who's been playing on PC games. Although they can be checked and altered in the game's settings, it sort of felt intuitive to me. Without any real instructions, you begin to move around. A red light guides you to a button. You climb up to it, you step on it. And from the placid waters rise a few more blocks, another light, another button. Before you know it, 5 minutes have passed. You've lost track of the buttons you've pressed. A few more minutes, depending on how quickly you master the art of jumping and sliding around. And you're presented with a golden button. You jump on it, and the game finally talks to you again with the backdrop of a love heart. Created by your button pushing, the game congratulates you and lets you know how long it took. Despite 2 achievements for beating the game in a certain speed, whilst playing you're never really rushed. The game's timer only appears at the end. Button pushes are marked by the map changing, but no counter appears on screen. The same applies to the collectible blocks that are found hovering nearby some of the buttons. You can track them all down if you want to, and there are several achievements tied to this. But once again, the game never pushes you to. It never says, hey, you're halfway there. You just do things at your own pace. The completion percentage that can be shown on the pause menu is only ever shown on the pause menu or at the end of the game. While you are playing, the game doesn't make you feel like you're progressing or not. You're just experiencing it for yourself. I can't stress how valuable this felt to me. A coping mechanic for anxiety for lots of people will be to focus on one very small and simple task. You complete it, you choose another. And this game makes that process automatic and somehow beautiful. With the lighting and the simple music, the lapping water and the transformation of the bleak concrete platforms into these grassy blocks, it serves to soothe the senses and it gives you a very small, gentle rewards for very small, easy goals. There's nothing overwhelming and nothing important. I want to share this clip from my second time playing the game. This was during a week where I just started a new job and I was really struggling with the new job and with my general anxiety. Just focus on doing one thing. That's all you need to worry about. And when you've done that one thing, sure, you can think about something else. There's really not a single fault or a single change that I'd make to this game. Although it is short, there's a decent level of replayability. If you want to chase down the achievements, you're going to have to complete the game a couple of different ways. If you haven't collected all of the floating squares, you can go ahead and do that. And if you want, you can always run and jump on the other buttons. Buttons you've already pressed will react in an interesting way now. When you press the button again, it will change the colour that the grass grows beneath your feet. I spent several minutes after one playthrough just trying to colour in half the map one colour and the other half another. The only thing I wish you could do is return to that sky view to see the heart crafted in a different colour. I could say that I wish there was another level, additional platforms, just more, but I think this was the perfect length. The size of the game means that you can begin to memorise it and feel familiar with the order blocks appear in, which made the calming effect for me even greater. For people who treat it as a speedrunning game, that obviously means a greater chance to memorise it, to hit those difficult achievements. But for me, it really was something familiar. I knew what blocks were going to rise out and where I was going to go. I also feel that an additional map or any additional levels could feel a bit boring and repetitive unless they added new mechanics, different blocks. I think at that point would change the whole appeal of the game. It would take away from the simplicity which made the game so enjoyable in the first place, so I think it really is the perfect length. And I'll say again that both games only cost a couple of pounds. It makes sense to me that they're not huge. I achieved my final achievement in the game at 1 hour and 10 minutes played. I started writing this review at less than 2 hours, and it was then that I decided to buy and try out the other game from this developer. So Swarmlake. At first glance, it feels like a polar opposite to Refunct. Even from the game starting with the controls on screen, the entire time you're firing projectiles, there are swarms of objects flying towards you, bombs to explode, and a very prominent score that ticks up as you move through the green shards that fall as you clear the swarm. It's an incredibly simple game. The premise is simply to collect as many shards as possible by destroying as many floating obstacles as possible without colliding into them. It's a bullet storm, it's a hellfire, it's a mess, it's chaotic. But in a strange way, it was just as peaceful to me as Refunct, just for very different reasons. One thing I liked in this game was that your highest scoring attempt is automatically recorded, so you can rewatch it. You can rewatch from a third person perspective, which could maybe help you strategize, but it's also a great visual experience. And you can also watch from the first person perspective, repeating what you did. Not only that, but you can view other players on the high scores. But it's great to scroll up at the highest scorers and watch how the swarm moves. The physical motion of the shapes that appear on the map and swarm around the player. There's something really interesting about that. It feels organic, and obviously it's programmed in a certain way. It feels like nature reacting to something. Almost like ripples through a pond, but more intricate somehow. I really enjoy watching it. I like to play through the game for a while, and then often I will sit back and just watch the playthrough. So for me, it really is a fantastic experience as a viewer as well as a player. The hardest achievement in the game is to hit 10,000 score or more. I hit the achievement for 100 points at 2:37, and by 3 the same day I had the achievement for 5,000 points. I played for another half hour or so, and I never proceeded any further. 10 days later, with various play sessions between 5 minutes and half an hour in between, I still haven't beaten those high scores, and I don't think I ever will, but I am still really enjoying it. So, you want to score these points, but when the game gets busy, shooting the shapes and chasing shards becomes a little messy. The higher your score gets, the busier the game gets, and the harder it is to shoot and collect. This is where the bombs, these purple nodes, they really help. They give you a brief respite and a big pool of shards to collect. After describing how Refunct helped that anxiety coping process for me, you might be wondering how a game seemingly so contrasting that could even be comparable. But you know what? It really was. And you'll have to bear with me now because I'm going to be climbing into some weird mixed metaphors that hopefully you'll be able to relate to, but I completely understand if you don't. Because despite the bullets, the explosions and the constant risk, at its core this game to me was the same. You move from point to point. Replace the red buttons with these purple bombs, and all you do is move from point to point. Finish one job and move on to the other. I might be pushing the metaphor a little bit too much here, but I look at the shards as things in real life that we want. Money, positive experiences, fun, food, friendship. The bombs, the purple nodes, they're goals to get to. They might be things you have to achieve, jobs you have to do. And then all of the floating shapes that are swarming towards you, well, that's life. When the game gets busy, it's really easy to lose. You backtrack to grab shards, you miss, you lose. You try diving into the thickest part of the swarm to break more shards. You lose. You miss a bomb and make a sharp turn to try and hit it again. You lose. How do you win? By focusing on one thing at a time. That next bomb, the next goal, the task, the job interview, the first date. And if you miss one, well, never mind, just keep moving forward. Because going backwards, you'll lose. You see a bomb far to the side, you can't adjust that quickly, so keep moving forwards. Make slow, safe adjustments. When you hit the bomb, you get that brief respite. The extra shards, a little extra happiness. And to me, that's life. We aim for our goals and we have things we have to do. Sometimes we don't always hit them. Now in life we don't lose in a final way, but if you don't get a job, you can only move forwards to the next opportunity, apply for something new, retrain. Maybe even in the future you can apply for the same job, but right now you can't go back to that interview and change anything. You go for a first date and it sucks? Well, you move forward. You meet somebody new, but you move forward. You can't go back to that first date and make any changes. I started playing both of these games during a time of so much emotional upheaval. Shifting relationships, anxiety, new jobs, and perhaps the beginning of a journey towards something more ambitious, a more exciting goal than I'd really ever gone for before. You might have a totally different experience, but I challenge anyone not to find the simplicity and forgiving nature of Refunct, or the more challenging but strangely focused Swarmlake a positive experience. The games for me were a reset, and whether they can be a short fun break with no meaning or something deeper for you too, I hope people will give them a try. I'm sure I'll still be playing them long into the future. So I'm going to end it here. And remember to keep focusing on one thing and then the next. I finished this video now and I'm going to start working on the next. And maybe I'll see you there too.